Israel's Prime Minister has criticised countries, including Australia, for recognising Palestine as a free state. Benjamin Netanyahu used his UN General Assembly address to reiterate his vow to eliminate Hamas from Gaza. Several officials and diplomats staged a walkout before Mr Netanyahu arrived at the podium.
Well, during his speech, the Prime Minister claimed Israel feels every Palestinian death deeply, despite the IDF continuing its assault in Gaza City. Mr Netanyahu also promised to continue Israel's fight, even if it had to do it alone.
Leaders who recognize a Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians, it's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off. Well, I have a message for these leaders. When the most savage terrorists on earth are effusively praising your decision, you didn't do something right. You did something wrong, horribly wrong. The final elements, the final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job. That is why we want to do so as fast as possible.
Let's get more on this now. Our America's editor, John Lyons, joins us now from New York. John, a fairly empty room there. What did you take from Benjamin Netanyahu's address?
Well, yeah, Thomas, it just shows how isolated Israel has now become on the world stage. There's a lot of anger in this organisation towards Israel, apart from the fact that well over 140 countries have now supported the creation or a Palestinian state. The anger there, UNICEF recently calculated that since the war started about 2 years ago, that every day on average, 28 children are being killed in Gaza. As UNICEF says, that's a classroom of children. And when you think about that figure, and we all see the pictures on the TV at night, of course October 7, when Hamas attacked, was of course an atrocity, but the atrocities are now continuing. This time tomorrow, on average, 28 children in Gaza will be dead from Israel continuing its military operation. And I think a lot of the countries here are just saying, what is the point? What is Israel actually trying to do here, demolishing all the buildings, killing so many women and children? And I think that anger was reflected today. So the moment that Benjamin Netanyahu got up to speak, there was a huge exodus of delegates from the room. So it ended up with empty seats all around the auditorium. It was quite extraordinary to see how much support, how little support Israel now has in the international community.
Yeah, quite extraordinary seeing that vision, which is on our screens there now, of that walkout, John Lyons. I mean, it does cap off a week of world leaders gathering there in New York. What have been some of the themes of the week?
Well, Thomas, for me, the most interesting and important development here this week has been, you know, the dynamic between the United States and China. We know that President Trump came here and gave a very combative speech. Basically, it was an attack on any moves to mitigate climate change, renewables. He used words like con job hoax. And the next day, and I'm sure Xi Jinping in Beijing would have been watching and listening to every single word of President Trump. I think China sees an opportunity there, and I think China's now going to go for it, because the next day, after Donald Trump had rubbished climate change as a concept, as a hoax and so forth, Xi Jinping gave a speech from Beijing announcing that Beijing would try to reduce its emissions by between 7 and 10%. They are the biggest emitter in the world, of course. I think they emit or pollute about a third of the emissions that go into the air, and he was saying that we are going to start cutting them. And so in a really strange way, in the world in which we're living now, Australia and China are sort of on the same page in terms of attitudes to climate change and trying to fix it, compared to the United States, which is now in a completely different universe from countries like Australia, China, France and others. So you can see China in there sensing an opportunity and trying to take that leadership from the United States. We saw it only a few weeks ago in Beijing, where Narendra Modi and Vladimir Putin and a whole lot of them went to Beijing, and now India feels alienated by the United States and President Trump. So we're seeing all the world geopolitics being thrown in the air and now coming down, and it's extraordinary the changes we're seeing in our lifetime.